This video is about my disgraceful work performance. This is video number 5 in the disclosure series. And there are times that when I look back, I'm ashamed of how poorly I performed in my job. Several times. And I can't rationalize all of them. I can rationalize some of it, but no. I guess I better focus on one particular period of time when I graduated with my master's degree in this field called educational technology. That's what it was called at the time. And I thought that I knew a lot more than I actually did. I was a classic case of Dunning-Kruger effect. And I had some theoretical understanding of certain things, and then I was in a design capacity and I just totally fucked up. And they wasted, the budget was $70,000. And that was split by this guy that had hired me. He is so-called management fee. And then I was doing this work, and then there was a few other guys. They were younger. One guy was a talented programmer, and another guy was not a bad visual designer. And it was the four of us. And oh gosh, I totally wasted their money. I thought that I knew what I was doing, and the guy that hired me thought that I knew too. And there was this fateful day. We were about 3 months into the project, and 40 grand out of 70 grand into the project. And then it became clear that I didn't really know how to design this training that this coal plant needed. A coal plant generating electricity outside of the city of Edmonton in Alberta. And they had boilers there. A huge boiler. I went and visited more than one. And the chemistry of the water inside the boiler was very important because there was a turbine spinning in there. And if there was corrosion, that would affect the water in this gigantic container, and then the whole thing could come offline. The whole plant would be brought offline if there was a problem with the turbine. So this was a very important thing for the company. I mean, even for the city of Edmonton. Oh my gosh. And there was one water chemistry guy there that really understood the boiler. I think he was probably from a trades background, that guy. He knew about boilers. And in that electro energy industry in Alberta, there are these trades, these technical trades, and engineers as well. This guy probably had grown up on a farm and become a boiler maker, and he was probably a welder too. And I went out and met him, and we sat down, and I'm asking him these questions about the categories. Oh my gosh, when I think about it, I'm so embarrassed and ashamed about this. I was asking the categories and how you organize all of this information in the guy's head, right? And it wasn't until years later when I worked with somebody, I worked with somebody at the University of Alberta who was really a super qualified as well as super talented and super experienced designer, more like of an industrial designer type background. And then I got a glimpse of what would actually go into solving those kinds of problems, about how to address a training program, how to create training for that skill set. Because the guy, the Boilermaker guy, the guy who had all the smarts about using this boiler, he needed to go on holidays, and he wasn't going to work there forever, and they needed to know how to train other people to do this very specific job about keeping care of this boiler that he was in charge of, basically. So I met with that guy, and we met like X number of times. I drove out there. There were, I don't know how many men and women working at that plant. It's a very, really big coal burning plant outside of Edmonton. That was creating most of the power for the city of Edmonton for years, I think. There was another plant as well, about 15 miles away, but that boiler was okay. So I don't know where to go with this story. There's so many threads to it. I guess I need to focus on the Dunning-Kruger aspect of it. Because, so I thought I knew what I was doing, and I didn't know what I was doing, and then eventually everybody kind of realized. We got paid, though. I got paid, and the guys whose company it was, his name was, what was his name? Can't remember. I can see his face. He was from Saskatchewan. He had a Chinese wife, this guy. Oh, Robert. I do remember his last name now, because I later ended up suing him and winning in small claims court. I guess I shouldn't admit that either. Now I think I was somewhat of an asshole, but he was an asshole too. Meaning that people don't communicate clearly, right? Well, see, look at what a rationalization. Like, oh, he should have communicated so well with me when I was totally screwing up. I guess he did communicate as well as he could. He didn't realize that I didn't know how to do what I was doing. So I guess it was because he was already BSing that I could BS him with my sincerity and my big talk, and he got sucked into my big talk because he was a big talker himself, I guess. Meanwhile, neither one of us really knew what we were doing, and it was in this field of educational technology, which I later realized or discovered through my other colleague that is kind of a scam. I guess there were some practitioners out there. Well, no, of course there are some practitioners out there. It was a scam in my hands. It was a scam. I didn't know enough. I did a master's degree and I had 1 or 2 courses in that area, and I thought I knew what I was doing. I totally didn't know what I was doing. I guess that has to do with master's degrees too. A master's degree, you learn how to play the game, right? You learn how to do a thesis and how to do research and how to talk the talk. And which is, talking about the field. If you actually learn how to do anything in the field, well, you're very lucky, because usually people don't, right? I guess it varies by the field, but in my case, in that program at that school, that's how it was. I heard an interesting thing later when I was involved in the architecture program at another university where I did it. It's not like I learned my lesson either. After I totally was disgraceful, I guess I just thought, well, I got paid and it wasn't really my fault, or I don't know what I said. I didn't quit the profession. I didn't get any more training either. I just landed up in other jobs. And even after like 10 years in that field, I was still an imposter. Oh no, gosh. Oh, I'm sorry to everybody that I just was such a know-it-all too. Somebody who was a good communicator actually did communicate that to me. We were talking about this other so-called instructional designer, And her comment about that guy was, "Oh yeah, another know-it-all, instructional designer." After a while, I realized, oh yeah, I was the first one that she had met. Because in those days, instructional design was a new thing. This is when all the courses were going online back in the early 2000s. I jumped on that bandwagon, which was a poor career choice for me, but by that time, I even managed to enjoy it. There were a lot of perks and the money was good, and meanwhile, it was a complete fraud. Not a complete fraud. And it was actually a lot because of other people's dishonesty and lack of courage and lack of initiative and curiosity that my talents couldn't really come out. My talents come out way better in a group environment, at least in that field. They did when once in a while there was actually a collaborative situation, although it was definitely the exception despite all the rhetoric. But I'm not here to rant about the system. I'm here to apologize to all the people that I later. I actually worked in medical school. Try faking in the medical school. Oh my God. I didn't convince anybody along the way that any of the I worked with all these different professionals because I was developing training, so-called, or more like talking about developing training. So I did more of that, reading about it, writing about it, than actually doing it. And I was not a fan of the technology, which was, completely missuited, because I was a technologist. And I was never promoting the technology. I was always a laggard about, you shouldn't even use this crap. No, I'd never said that, but it was, I've thought a lot about technology in education over the years. And I did my master's in that area. And I did study the theorists of that field a little bit. And the main thing I learned, as far as all that goes, was technology itself has never really been the answer for education. If there was the answer, if there ever was an answer, it was never technology, and it's not now either. If you ask any teacher, what do you need more of? I don't think anybody is going to say technology. Well, maybe now they would. Maybe now, after 20 years or more than that of the internet and 20 years of Google, and after COVID, since COVID online, it's hard to even question it now. But however, I do question it because there was already a historical trend, and I don't think AI actually is different from the trend, is it? In the sense that there's a place that AI doesn't go, right? AI doesn't go to the heart of things. Does it? No, it doesn't, right? It's almost like, and isn't it true that AI is always mirroring back? So AI is not originating. And I'm speculating here. But when I think about it, what I as far as the public sector stuff goes, which I worked in a Ministry of Education for the province of Alberta as a contractor, and I also worked in three universities. I guess I got moved along. Actually, I did. No, one I chose, one I got laid off. and the other also laid off. The two layoffs kind of were like fired. Luckily, I got laid off. Luckily, though, those university environments also were very like toxic places in a very refined and genteel kind of way. Well, refined, anyways. Refined like white sugar. Universities kill ya. And I was always disappointed with the workplaces, at the parochial provincialism of the administrators and the generally selfish, self-oriented orientation of the administrators and the managers and deans, a bunch of narcissist people. Generally, sorry to say, there were some wonderful people, and I'm sorry to some of those, my clients that are just, I wasted their time and, was annoying to put up with, because I was a complete ignoramus, and an arrogant one too. And although I was maybe kind of morally right, what the hell, that doesn't even make sense to me, right? Or does it? I guess it's very ambiguous, right? For me, it's very ambiguous, the whole use of technology. As we heard from the great Canadian Marshall McLuhan, who's also from Edmonton, by the way. He argued that the technology actually configures our thinking. So configure, it's kind of like if you have an ice cube tray and it's round ice cubes or square ice cubes, you can have any shape you want. Pour the water in, and then if it's cubes, then you get cubes, but there are other shapes. Any shape would be possible, and the technology is like that. The basic message is kind of liquid, but then the technology is what our intelligence, like the technology creates, let's say, a space, and then our consciousness is inhabiting that space and not some other space. So the technology is mediating our thinking, and has always been doing that. And McLuhan said that about in the 60s, right? That was like 80 years ago. No, whatever, 60 years ago. Back in the days of the TV, when the TV was king. I feel with AI that it's like I was talking about marijuana being of a trickster and a promiser of great things, but really, well, actually, really, I'm an ignoramus about AI, in fact. I'm an ignoramus about technology. Well, no, that's not true either. I think what's true is that I take moral positions which maybe are right. Like, I think in the long run, I don't regret the positions that I've taken. Maybe I should. I shouldn't have been in that field. I should have got out of that field, gone back to just straight teaching. This is not that interesting, right? I guess I got to go back to Robert. Finally, I invoiced Robert. I would give him these invoices and he would pay. One time the client, a different client, we did websites too. Man, there was a young guy. His name was Mike. Very talented programmer. he rightly resented me. I had this master's degree in this thing that people hadn't heard of, instructional technology. Oh wow, instructional design. Oh wow, that's, oh wow. People were impressed with that because it was a new invention, but it was fake, because design is a different thing. Design is problem solving, but understanding. Design is like this operationalizing empathy. It's not even a bad definition, but what I was doing was some dogmatic, like, throw some spaghetti at the wall and hope everybody shows up for it on Monday morning. So all those people that were frustrated with me, well, no, I shouldn't say, no, I can't say all of them. At least my heart was in the right place. That was another thing that got me into trouble, is I was trying to do the right thing for the client, or, well, for the end users. Oh my God! What a horror! What a load of poppycock! What can I say? I want to feel better about this. I want to feel good about my career, but I don't think I can spin this in any sort of positive learning way. No. I was an ignoramus, and I was getting paid not too bad for being so. I got paid more than most people. People who knew what they were doing. Oh no. I guess if I had refused to do that job, I guess someone else would have done it. And by and large, the other people that I met, and I met probably about 20, 25 people that were also gone into this instructional design. All of them talented and smart people. But I don't think I met anybody that was, could do the job better on their own than they would have done with some kind of group situation. And all of that work was done in a group situation all the time. So I found it just really like insupportable. I found it really like unbearable, unconscionable that the administrators, like the directors, the decision makers, didn't get us to work together to come up with the best that we could for the users who were learners. Nobody ever did that. Not really. What the learners might have benefited from was always only one criteria on a list of things that are very important to think about. And usually what the boss wanted. Making the boss happy, that was what most people were mostly interested in. And I didn't think of it that way because I have a really poor astrological configuration for a career in my natal chart. It's my story, I'm sticking to it. And it's funny though, if you have a lot of planets in the 12th house, it's just like doing well in manifesting in like a career way, it's, the energy just isn't there the way it is for another astrological configuration. It's a thing. Those energies are, it's a thing. Like it makes a difference. Anyway, I guess that's all I have to say about that disgraceful aspect of my life. Oh.